Hey guys, it's Nick, and in this video I want to talk about the best-selling electric vehicle in the world, and it's not Tesla, it's the Hong Guang Mini made by SAIC and GM in China. Now I'm doing this video not to say that this car is better than a Tesla, but to show that the competition that is out there for lower priced cars is going to eat into Tesla's profit, and to show that the hype about Tesla and the euphoria is way overblown, and eventually the bubble is going to burst on Tesla and the air is going to come out when people realize that Tesla is not making as much money on their cars because there's so much competition. Tesla's recent earnings report showed that without the EV credits that they sold for $518 million, they would only have about $15 million in actual earnings in this last quarter. So here is the Hong Guang Mini EV, and it sold 56,000 units in the first 2 months of 2021. They sold 36,000 in January compared to 21,500 Model 3 Teslas, and 20,000 in February compared to 13,700 Teslas. This car is made by China's state-owned SAIC Motor, Wuling Motors, and GM. The Hong Guang Mini sells for about $4,500. It could get 106 miles per charge and reach a top speed of 62 miles an hour. Now, of course, it's not in the same league as the Tesla Model 3 that gets 250 miles per charge and starts at $40,000. But the people in China like this car to the point where they, customize their cars and have shows of their Wuling to show off their cars and what they've done to it. So it has kind of a cult following because of its affordable price for many young people. Now let me throw some cold water on the EV market. No matter how optimistic you are, they're not overtaking gas cars anytime soon, no matter how rosy these predictions are. They're only like 2% of worldwide sales, and they are more expensive than gas cars, equivalent gas cars right now. So the only way they will really start eating into gas cars is if they become cheaper to make and sell than gas cars, or if gasoline goes up really high, like $6, $8, $10 a gallon, something like that, then they become really competitive to gas cars. Looking back in history, you see when new technology came out, it really started taking off when the prices went really low. So Henry Ford didn't sell millions of cars by being the highest priced luxury car. He sold a whole bunch by making them affordable to the average person in the country. So he expanded the market so more and more people could buy it. And that's kind of what Wuling Motors is doing with the Hong Guang Mini. They're starting low and going up from there so that they expand their base of customers. Whereas Tesla started up really high, and only people who are kind of rich and like the virtual signal or whatever, that they got an EV car, or that it's interesting, or that it's new technology. They weren't comparing the equivalent gas mileage they were getting by buying a Tesla Model S compared to like a 5 Series, something like that. They didn't care about the gas price. They just bought it because it's a new toy. The majority of people do not shop for cars like that. They shop on value and what they're getting for their money, and they compare a lot of different types of cars. Another example of this is when PCs first came out. I remember in the 1980s, one kid in my class had a PC. It cost like $5,000, and it was horrible. But they didn't really start taking off until they went under $1,000, and then under 500, and then under 300. Now everybody has one, but even so, there are people that still can't afford a PC, and what do? They substitute by buying a smartphone. So you have these people in India or Africa or whatever, maybe they can't buy a PC, but they can buy a $100 smartphone. So the lower you can price this product, the bigger the market becomes and the more you can sell of it. But just because EVs came out and they're cool and they're green, it doesn't mean people are going to be willing or able to pay twice the price for an EV as an equivalent gasoline car. It just doesn't happen that way for the majority of people. And to continue with the example of a PC, Back when I was in engineering school in the 90s, I remember reading an article about optical computers were going to be the future, that they, use photons instead of electrons. It's going to be much faster and all this stuff. And it was, any day now. And here we are, 2020, 2021, solving problems at the speed of light. Here's why we don't have light-based computing just yet. This is 2016, 20 something years after I read this article. 2018, optical computers light up on the horizon. Yeah, they've been lighting up for the last 20 something years. So just like most people have no idea what's inside their desktop PC or their laptop PC, what the motherboard looks like, most people do not know what's inside their car. They don't even change the oil or anything like that. If it wasn't for the electric plug and the no noise, people would drive their cars and would have no idea whether it was electric or a gas car most of the time. So the same goes for computers. So if you were shopping for computers and one was a typical silicon-based, electron-based computer, and the other one was fiber optic, photon-based, you would just look at a few things. You would say, what's the price? What's the speed? And is there any other drawbacks? And so if they said, well, this fiber optic base is gonna, be green and change the environment and all that, but it costs twice as much as a regular computer, it's half as fast as a regular computer, and it takes 10 minutes to start your computer from the time you turn it on, similar to how long it takes you to charge your electric car at a gas station versus just filling up with gas. Most people who heard that would say, okay, that's nice, but I'm going to buy the regular old computer that's half the price, twice as fast, and doesn't take so long to start. So let's look at the real world problems with electric cars. Here's the Hyundai Ioniq. It's $33,000 and it has a 170-mile range. And it is 176 inches in length and 71 inches. So it's kind of like the size of a Hyundai Accent. Now, wouldn't this be awesome if the price came down in half and maybe the range went up to 2 times what the current range is now? Wouldn't a lot of people buy that car? Well, they can right now in the Hyundai Accent. It's $15,395. It has a 12-gallon tank and gets about 30 miles to the gallon, so that's 360 miles per tank. And so, and it takes less time to fill up than the Ioniq takes to charge. And so that's the problem. If you're looking at actual value for money, you would never buy the Ioniq. You would buy the Hyundai Accent, no matter how much the price of gas, unless it got really, really expensive. And so that's the problem that Tesla is facing as they try to go from luxury down into the mythical $25,000 electric car where they're going to make all this money. But there are so many other people that will be in that space and cheaper than Tesla's $25,000 car. And for all of this and, decreasing margins they're going to get by going cheaper, the stock is still a PE of $1,100, which means if you're buying this stock today, you are paying $1,100 for $1 a year in earnings. Or said another way, it would take 1,100 years to get your money back from the current Tesla earnings. Now you may be thinking, well, that's just the price you have to pay for EV stocks because they're the wave of the future and everybody's bidding them up and that's what they're worth, right? Not exactly. Here is the SAIC Motor Corporation that makes the Hong Guang Mini, and here is the symbol on the Shanghai Exchange, and you see their market cap is $232 billion, about less than a third of Tesla's, and their PE ratio is 11.32, so about 100 times cheaper than Tesla, and they even pay a 4.4% dividend. So if you buy this stock, you will get your money back in 11.32 years from the current earnings that they make. And they've been around since the 1940s and sell about 5.6 million cars a year. So you see, traditional car manufacturers, their margins are not big and they normally sell for very low PE ratios. So just because they get into selling EV cars, it doesn't mean magically people are going to be able to afford $40,000 cars with fat margins when they could only afford $20,000 cars before. It's still going to be a similar kind of margin for these high volume, low price electric car or ICE car manufacturers. So this is the part where people who are long Tesla at 1100 PE explain away this by saying Tesla is not a car company, it's a technology company, and in the future, your Tesla, while you're sleeping, will take your kid to school. After they drop off the kid, drive around Uber for a few hours, make you a few $100, and maybe go and pick up some McDonald's for you and drive home and give you the breakfast and maybe make coffee for you before you even wake up. So that's the dream that they're selling. It's a car company, but it's also this magic box that's gonna, make money for you while you sleep and all kinds of things like that. That dream is nice, but it's not reality, and they've been saying that for a long, long time. And if you don't believe me, look at what Uber and Lyft have been saying before they IPO'd about how they will have fleets of self-driving cars by 2021, and they're going to get rid of the drivers, and so they're going to be super profitable and all that stuff. That didn't pan out. Uber sold off their self-driving unit last year, and now just a few days ago, Lyft sold off their self-driving unit to Toyota. So here The Verge says, Toyota is buying Lyft's autonomous car division for $550 million, April 26, 2021. Also The Verge, Lyft's president says majority of rides will be in self-driving cars by 2021. Oh, this is September 18th, 2016, before they went public. Lyft president and co-founder John Zimmer said that by 2021, a majority of rides on his network will be in autonomous vehicles. Also by 2025, personal car ownership in U.S. cities will be a thing of the past. Oh, that's awesome. Zimmer painted a fantastical vision of the future in which driverless cars suddenly become de facto offices and nightclubs. If you think of yourself as the consumer, I can offer you 10 different vehicles on the Lyft platform. They all have amazing Virgin American cabins / beautiful hospitality experience inside. There's the private version if you want to do work in your ride. There's a sleeper car if you want to take a nap. That didn't work out too well for those two people taking a nap in their Tesla recently. And here's an ad from, I think this is John Zimmer's great-grandfather back in 1958, his vision of the future with the flying cars. Here we are 60 years later, and we don't even have the self-driving cars, let alone flying cars. So if these self-driving things are unrealistic, why do these CEOs talk about it and talk it up and say it's just a few years out, it's just a few years out? Because this is a great marketing thing for them. If Uber and Lyft just said, we're a taxi company with an app, nobody would care. They would give them a 15 PE like some trucking company or something, or FedEx, and that's it. But because they say we got this magic box of self-driving coming out just a few years later, get in now before this thing comes out, and our earnings grow like crazy because we fire all the drivers and just print money all day long, and you're gonna sell cars to us to drive around for you and make you money while you sleep. That gets people's attention. Same thing with Tesla. If he just said, we're a car company just with electric batteries and electric motors, people say, okay, great. Here's a 10 PE like Toyota or something like that. Instead, Tesla says, we're a technology company that happens to make some electric cars, but we do all this other stuff. We got this self-driving thing that's going to drive everybody around and make the money. And when people see that that's not working out, they try to dangle a shiny thing in front of a baby to make them interested. So they say, hey, we also have this boring company. We also have this solar panels on your roof. We also have Bitcoin. We have Dogecoin. We have flamethrowers. We have the underground tunnels. Whatever we think we can get people to get on board, that's what we have. So it's not a car company. It's a technology company. And we might think of something new tomorrow as well. So you better get in, and instead of paying a 10 PE like Toyota, you're going to pay us 1100 PE, 100 times more expensive than just a regular car company. So guys, at the end of the day, Tesla and all these other EV manufacturers are just car manufacturers. And as they try to go down lower in price, their margins are going to shrink. And you got these competitors from China that start low and maybe will be going up, improving their product and lowering their price, so that they're going to take away a lot of share. So the margins are going to be small. They're not going to be like Tesla enjoyed the first few years. So guys, Tesla and all these other EV manufacturers are just car manufacturers, and they should be priced like the other car manufacturers. And as they go down lower in price on their cars, their margins are going to fall and their competition is going to increase. So going forward, that 1100 PE is going to merge going down towards more of the regular car manufacturers eventually. So EV manufacturers will not sell more cars just because they're EVs and they have twice the price of a normal car. They will have to bring their prices down below ICE cars for it to expand the market. The people that are looking for used cars right now because they can't afford a new one, they would consider an electric car if it was cheaper than a new car. And new cars in the US are 17 million a year, while used cars are 40 million a year. So if EV manufacturers can sell a car lower than the typical used car, they'll expand their market. All of this does not bode well for Tesla being a mass manufacturer competing against Volkswagen, Toyota, and these big Chinese companies that start really low with very low priced cars. So guys, don't buy into the hype of these companies that are promoting themselves as having some magic box technology that's just right around the corner every few years, and are asking you to pay 100 times what a normal company is charging. You'd probably be better off buying some of these Chinese companies that are making these cheap electric cars and are going to sell tens of millions of them if they can make them cheap enough. So guys, if you would rather spend $5,000 on a Hong Guang Mini instead of $40,000 on a Tesla Model 3, let me know in the comments below. And I hope you like this video. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.